The sound of slamming doors and angry voices was as common as the chirping of birds in Blake's small southern town. At 7 years old, Blake had learned to recognize the signs of another storm brewing between his parents. His mother, Lorraine, a fiery woman with big dreams, would scream about broken promises. His father, Darnell, whose calloused hands told the story of long days as a mechanic, would argue back, his voice heavy with exhaustion. One night after an explosive argument, Lorraine stood at the door with a suitcase. She knelt to Blake's level, tears streaming down her face. "Baby, I'll come back for you," she whispered. Then she was gone. Weeks later, Darnell left too. He couldn't handle the emptiness of the house or the responsibility of raising a child alone. Blake, left behind in their crumbling home, waited by the window every evening, hoping one of them would return. But the days turned into months, and the only visitors were loneliness and hunger. Blake stopped going to school. His teachers sent letters, but no one cared enough to enforce them. The neighbors pitied him, offering leftover food occasionally, but no one stepped in to help. He became a shadow of himself, wandering the streets and surviving on scraps. One night, under the dim light of a flickering street lamp, Blake stared at the horizon. "I can't stay here," he muttered to himself. He packed a small bag and left the only home he had ever known, hitching a ride with a truck driver heading to the city. The city was unlike anything Blake had imagined. Neon lights lit up the night, and the streets buzzed with life. But beneath the glamour was a harsh reality. Blake quickly learned that the city was no place for the weak. For weeks he wandered, sleeping under bridges in alleyways or on park benches. Hunger became his constant companion, but he refused to give in. He started hustling, washing car windows at intersections, and selling chewing gum on crowded streets. One day, Blake approached a middle-aged man in a suit, offering him a pack of gum. The man chuckled and handed him $10. "You've got hustle, kid," he said. "Keep at it." Encouraged, Blake worked harder. Soon he was selling sachet water and snacks, moving from corner to corner. His charisma drew customers, and he became a familiar face in the bustling neighborhoods. Blake's break came when he met Pops, an elderly taxi driver. Pops had seen Blake hustling and admired his determination. One day he handed Blake the keys to his old cab. "It's a piece of junk, but it'll get you started," Pops said. Blake threw himself into driving, learning every shortcut and back road in the city. He drove all night, picking up passengers from all walks of life. Each fare was a lesson, a glimpse into the lives of others. One rainy evening, Blake picked up a passenger who would change his life forever. The man was sharply dressed with a gold watch that gleamed in the dim light. He leaned back in the cab, observing Blake through the rearview mirror. "You've got potential," the man said after a long silence. "How would you like to make some real money?" Blake hesitated. "What's the catch?" "No catch," the man replied smoothly. "Just some deliveries. Do the job right, and I'll make sure you're set for life. Car, house, anything you want." Blake thought about his life. The cold nights, the hunger, the constant grind. This could be his ticket out. The man handed him an address and a small package. "Deliver this. Don't ask questions." The first delivery was simple, and the money was more than Blake had ever seen. The man kept his promises, giving Blake a new car and a small apartment. For the first time, Blake felt like he was winning. Blake's work expanded. The deliveries grew larger, and soon he was traveling to major cities like New York and Miami. Each new connection brought more wealth and influence. His confidence grew, and he began to enjoy the luxuries of success: designer clothes, fine dining, and VIP treatment wherever he went. When he was sent to Africa for a deal, Blake fell in love with the continent. The vibrant markets, the soulful music, and the warmth of the people captured his heart. He spent months there, exploring its beauty and investing in local communities. "Africa is sweet," he often said, marveling at the joy he found there. With his growing wealth, Blake became known for his generosity. He funded schools, built hospitals, and handed out money to anyone in need. "If I have it, why not share it?" he would say. His name became synonymous with hope, and he was celebrated as a man who gave back. Blake's empire was built on a shaky foundation. The packages he delivered, the deals he brokered, everything was part of a vast, shadowy network. He ignored the warning signs, convincing himself that the good he was doing outweighed any wrongdoing. One fateful day, during a lavish charity event, Federal agents stormed in and arrested him. Blake was charged with money laundering, tax evasion, and ties to international smuggling. The man who had brought him into the business was long gone, leaving Blake to face the consequences alone. The media painted him as a villain, erasing all the good he had done. In his cold jail cell, Blake replayed his life in his mind, wondering where it had all gone wrong. Prison was a harsh reality, but Blake refused to let it break him. He spent his days mentoring young inmates, sharing his story, and urging them to make better choices. Blake also began writing letters to his supporters, apologizing for his actions and thanking them for their faith in him. These letters became a source of inspiration for many, turning him into a symbol of resilience. When Blake was finally released, he returned to Africa, where he felt most at home. He dedicated the rest of his life to philanthropy, focusing on education and healthcare. Blake's story became a legend, a tale of ambition, generosity, and redemption.